Welcome. You're listening to This Leader, the podcast. If you lead people and are seeking the transformational, high-impact secrets that will lead to greater joy and fulfillment in your work, will optimize your team performance, and will help you create a happy, highly productive workplace, then you are this leader and you're in the right place. I'm your host, Claire Laughlin, and each week my guests and I will explore the mindsets, techniques, and actionable strategies that will help you build the career, team, and organization of your dreams. Because I believe no one should have to suffer in a dysfunctional workplace. Let's get started. I want to start today with something you've probably experienced, even if you didn't have a name for it. Picture two meetings. Same problem that needs solving. Same smart people around the table. In the first meeting, somehow the leader ends up doing most of the talking, making most of the decisions. The meeting has an agenda, but it ends up being mostly a meandering discussion while everyone just sort of chimes in, participates. You know this meeting. We've all been in that room. Now I want you to imagine a second version. Same problem, same people. But this time, everyone is contributing differently, fully. Decisions are being vetted with energy, and everyone leaves feeling heard and actually excited to execute on decisions that they help create. What's the difference in these two meetings? What did that second leader do that many of us never learn how to do? Today, I'm going to go behind the curtain to share very specific tools and techniques that create that transformation. This isn't theory. These are practical secrets that I've learned from years of coaching leaders and facilitating high-stakes conversations, large and small. Because here's what I know. The difference between those two meetings, it isn't really about personality or some kind of natural charisma or introversion or extroversion or anything. It's about a learnable set of skills, facilitation skills. And by the end of this episode, you'll have a few new tools in your toolkit you can start using in your next meeting to make it even more engaging. Let me start by explaining what's actually happening in that second type of meeting, the one that really works, right? When I observe leaders who consistently bring out the best in their teams, I see specific behaviors that can create a completely different dynamic. Let me break down what I'm looking for. 1, they are clear about the purpose of the interaction. Whether it's a meeting or a coaching session, they know the end game, and they're holding two things in mind at the same time, both the immediate moment they're fully present and the big picture, like where we are headed. Number 2 is sort of embedded in number 1 because those leaders, they understand and are truly engaged with the people in the room. They're very present. They ask great questions, they listen, and they ensure understanding. If something isn't clear, they ask. They drive the group toward clarity. And number 3, they use processes that increase engagement and help achieve the goals. These processes, they are tools in the leader's toolkit. More on that in a minute. So, all this sounds pretty straightforward, right? Purpose, people, process. And why aren't more leaders using these tools? Well, the counterintuitive part is that many leaders think their job is to have the answers. And facilitative leadership requires a completely different mindset. Let me share a little comparison that will make this really crystal clear. First, I want you to imagine a sort of directive. And honestly, I don't believe many of you, my dear listeners, are directive leaders, at least not intentionally, but this will help make the point really clear. In directive leadership, or sometimes called command and control type of leadership, it's the leader's role to sort of tell, right? To make decisions, to set the rules. These leaders tend to see followers as subordinates who are implementers, those who execute. Decision-making is generally more top-down. The differentiator is speed and clarity, right? You get a lot of speed, things are clear, but you get low empowerment and engagement. In facilitative leadership, by contrast, your focus shifts to collaboration, group process, and ownership. Your role becomes guiding the process and asking questions and building capacity. You see your people as collective intelligence to be tapped. Decision-making becomes structured group facilitation. And here's the key differentiator. You're empowering groups to co-create outcomes. I mean, I remember working one time with a VP. She was brilliant. She could solve any technical problem you put in front of her, but she was using more of a directive leadership style. She'd walk into meetings, she'd analyze the problem, she'd help everyone know what to do. Fast? Yes. Clear? Absolutely. But her team meetings were kind of stale because everyone would just sit waiting for her to tell them what to think. She was accidentally training her people to be dependent rather than capable. And this was really frustrating for her. She did have speed and clarity, but she wasn't building empowerment. So the shift happened when she learned that her expertise was really even more valuable when she used it to guide the process and ask better questions, not provide all the answers. Same brilliant mind, right? But a completely different application and approach. I often help leaders make this shift by simply illuminating the dynamic at play and posing some key questions and power phrases they can use. We're just going to jump right in here. For example, when someone comes to you with a problem, train yourself to say, tell me more, right? Followed by, well, what do you think we should do? And then, okay, what are the risks we need to watch out for? Tell me more. What do you think we should do? And what are the risks we need to watch out for? When a leader just simply starts with these kinds of questions, it opens up further conversation and it serves as a decision into shared decision making. But I really want to share some tools today. But before I dive into that, I want to address the elephant in the room because you might be thinking, well, this sounds nice, Claire, but I don't have time for this sort of consensus building. I've got too much to do. I get it. Here's what you need to understand. Taking this approach isn't really slower than directive leadership in the long run. It's different. And yes, directive leadership gives you that speed and clarity in the moment, but at what cost? When you constantly operate in that directive mode, you're trading long-term capacity building for short-term efficiency. And your people will become dependent on you for answers. You become the bottleneck. And when you're not there, things slow way down or stop. Facilitative leadership is about empowering your groups to co-create outcomes. You're not just solving today's problem, you're building your team's capacity to solve tomorrow's problems without you, right? So you can take that long overdue vacation, my friend. And here's the paradox. Once people learn to think and decide together effectively, they actually move faster than any single leader could direct them because now you have a collective intelligence working on the problem, not just one brilliant person trying to think for everyone. So remember, your expertise is most valuable when you use it to ask better questions, not to provide better answers. All right, let's get tactical. I'm going to share a few concepts that you're going to need to keep in mind as you focus your attention on becoming that facilitative leader. And I know you can do this. I learned how to do it. This was some of my earliest education was in how to facilitate groups, group events, large group events, small group events, coaching sessions. The keys that we learn when we learn how to facilitate group events are the same tools you need as a facilitative leader. Okay, first, you can't guide a group if you don't know where you're taking them. It's very hard. Most failed meetings happen because the leader doesn't have a clear destination. So meetings become sort of a hodgepodge of information sharing. That's what we in the working genius world call meeting stew, where everything just sort of gets thrown in. And here's a magic concept. All meaningful work follows a predictable flow. And once you understand this flow, you can orient your group to where you are in the work process, and you can guide your group from one stage to the next. So let me see if I can pull back the curtain on this. Here's the flow. All good work starts with a question about something we don't yet know, like, how can we do it better? Or, gee, shouldn't there be a stoplight here? Or, something like that. It's a question, or it's a problem that needs solving, or it's an opportunity that needs to be explored. This, my friends, is called ideation. And in this stage, we're identifying a problem or an opportunity and we're brainstorming potential ways forward, right? We're trying to gather a lot of different ideas. This is what's called divergent thinking. So that's the first stage of work, identifying the problem and brainstorming potential solutions. That's sort of the beginning of all good work. After that comes activation. In the activation stage, we move from like what we could do, that happens in ideating, to what we will do or should do. And this requires convergent thinking. It's like a funnel. It goes from broad to more narrow. And this is, prioritizing, deciding, committing, getting people energized, all those things. And those are all different and unique processes. Now, once we've got, people energized, we know what we're doing, the decision pathway is clear, we feel that there's commitment, we move forward into implementation. And an implementation phase of work, we plan and we execute. We lay it out. Who's going to do what by when? What resources do we need? How will we track progress? All those things. And then we move into a series of short meetings that walk the plan forward, of course, adjusting as needed. This is project implementation. We've all done this, okay? Finally, I like to throw in the learning phase. I think we should be learning all along the way, but at the end of a work project is a particularly good time to pause and evaluate. Like, how did we do? Did we meet our goals? Did we solve the problem that we set out to solve? How did we work together? Did we work well together? What can we improve for next time? Many leaders try to do all these phases at once, right? You're in a meeting where someone's generating ideas and someone else is thinking about the work plan. A third person is critiquing what happened last time. That's what we call meetings do. But when you, as the leader, you know the flow, you can guide your group. Like, okay, friends, right now we're in the ideation phase. Let's get all the possibilities out before we decide, or, okay, we've generated a lot of options. Now we need to move into decision-making and prioritization. What are our top 3 priorities? Something like that. The magic really happens when everyone understands what phase they're in, right? It's literally just, illuminating what we're doing. And suddenly the meeting has focus and direction and momentum. So as a facilitative leader, illuminating that path you're on and identifying the purpose of any one meeting, that in itself is a very powerful shift. First, think about what the work requires. Like, where are we in this project? Have we got a clear problem definition already? Have we really gone through and prioritized? Do we have a good decision? Are we ready to plan? Like, think about what the work requires. Where are you in those stages of work? And then plan your meeting accordingly and orient your group to that stage. Okay, so we've got that big picture. Now let's get super tactical. I want to give you 5 simple techniques that will immediately improve your meetings. These aren't complicated. They're very simple. You've probably used them. You've certainly participated in meetings where these were used. I really want to encourage you to use these tools. I know it might feel different at first to go from just having a discussion to using facilitative tools, but just step into that discomfort and make it work, because I'm telling you, these small shifts can make a huge difference. Okay, tool number 1 is called a round robin. It's easy. This is where you just go around the room and you ask for everyone's input. I love this tool. It breaks that invisible barrier that holds so many people back from sharing their voice. So here's an example. Instead of the general question, like I hear this all the time, so what does everyone think, right? And then you get the usual 3 people who are comfortable speaking up in the meeting. Instead of doing that, use a round robin. Just say, okay, let's go around the room. I'd like everyone to share one thought. That's it. So no one can skip, no one can dominate. You get input from every brain in the room. I love to use this, especially at the very beginning of the meeting, to just break the ice, like in every meeting practically, or most meetings. Like, just start with a fun question, like, what's one thing that's brought you a smile today, for example? I also love this in the ideation phase when I need divergent thinking and I want everyone's brain engaged. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I like round robins all the time, like at transition points or to gauge energy. I often will end a segment by saying, okay, what are you feeling right now? Give me one word. And the only ones I don't want to hear are good, fine, and okay. So I'm sort of forcing people to give me a more descriptive word of how they're feeling about where we're going. Some people will say things like, I'm confused, or I'm tired, or I'm hungry. That's all good. Invite that. We're just trying to get people to stay connected to the process. Okay, tool number 2. This one's called pair share. Okay, so big group discussions, large group discussions generally have a few people who are really comfortable speaking in front of others, jumping in and doing a lot of the talking. Okay, when you want to get deeper engagement, you want everybody engaged, break a larger group into pairs to share first and then have them report out. Okay, so have people turn to the person next to them and just discuss the answer to a prompt for 2 to 3 minutes. Then come back to the large group. Now everyone is talking and thinking, and that happens sort of before the extroverts jump in, which, no blame anywhere. It's just we have to make space. Quieter people, in this case with the pair share, have already processed their thoughts with one person where that gets deeper thinking. So they're more likely to share with a larger group or at least have their ideas represented. This also improves the quality of the ideas shared. Okay. It gets deeper. It gets more ideas. It gets better ideas. So it's super easy. Again, just turn to the person next to you and discuss whatever that conversation prompt is. Tool number 3 is called pro-con. It's a pro-con discussion. When you're in the activation phase and you need to evaluate options, structure it, right? Just say something like this. Okay, for the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about the benefits of this approach. And then we'll spend 10 minutes on the concerns. So pro-con is like a compare contrast, okay? I want you to try to focus on generating lists of both, right? Both say the benefits and then the concerns, okay? So this will keep the discussion balanced and it invites dissent because often there are people in the room who really dislike your ideas or disagree, but they don't want to speak up for whatever reason. They might not want to be disagreeable, right? Or they don't think that their voices, they don't want to take the time. And ultimately, if you invite that dissent, you're going to get greater buy-in to your ideas overall. It's going to be faster in the long run. Okay. So when their voices are requested in this specific, very safe way, they will contribute. Other of these compare contrast type questions include, hey, let's list 10 things we really like about each idea and 10 things we don't like so much, or let's list the risks and the rewards of each option, or let's generate costs and benefits, or any kind of compare and contrast can be really helpful. Okay. Tool number 4 is called dot voting. When you have multiple options and you need to prioritize quickly, like literally give everyone a few dots, like sticky dots, little sticky dots that you can get at, Staples or the, whatever the office supply store is, or they could just use pens and use pen marks, but you list the different choices on flip chart pages or on a whiteboard or something. You can do this virtually as well, of course. And then they put their dots next to their top choices. This is just voting, but it's voting in a little bit more colorful and more rich way than just raise your hands. It gets people out of their chairs, if nothing else, which I love. So instantly, besides, you can see visually the whole group, the whole room can see visually where the group's energy is. And this is really helpful for prioritizing ideas. Say, oh, look, that idea over there has 12 dots and this one has only 3. Okay, now we know what deserves more attention. This is a really good tool for the activation phase when you need to move from that sort of many possibilities down to focused action. And finally, here's another tool, tool number 5. It's called end of meeting discipline. This is a discipline process that just helps drive clarity on any team. It is such a good process. Before ending any meeting, I want you to just ask these questions. What did we discuss? What did we decide? What are we communicating to others? Who's doing the communicating? And what will not be communicated? Like what's not ready for prime time? And who's doing what by when? Like just don't leave the meeting without clarifying because you will be shocked at how often this helps reduce those follow-up emails and missed next steps and things like that. And it's called discipline for a reason. It is an end of meeting discipline. You've got to do it over and over and over again to get to that place of clarity. So now think of these 5 suggestions I've just given you. This is just a starter kit. And just so you know, I'm going to be sharing a process toolbox with my newsletter subscribers in the next few weeks. So a whole bunch of different processes. And so by all means, if you are not subscribed to my newsletter, please go do that right away. Just go to clairelaughlin.com/contact-us. Okay. Or clairelaughlin.com. Just scroll down to the bottom. There's a link, contact us. Sign up for the newsletter and you will receive this process toolkit. All right, let's put these pieces together and bring this home. I want to show you how this works in practice. Imagine you're leading a meeting about improving customer satisfaction. So here's how you'd use that workflow. Start with ideation. Maybe you're in the ideation phase, right? You're going to start with that pair, share, and a pro con. So, hey, turn to someone next to you and share one thing you think we're doing really well to serve our customers and one thing that needs improvement. And capture your ideas on sticky notes, okay? Simple instruction. Then you can use a round robin. Everybody go around, share all your ideas. And meanwhile, everybody gets up out of their seat, posts their ideas, and consolidates the items that go together. So cluster up the ideas, okay? Now you're looking at a room that has a whole bunch of clusters of things that we're doing really well and things that, we could improve upon. And then you could move into more of an activation. So now you've got a whole bunch of ideas and you want to kind of converge those ideas. So you can use dot voting. Give everyone 3 dots and have them put those dots next to the clusters of ideas that they think will have the biggest positive impact on your ability to deliver great service. So you're probably just looking at the improvement areas right now. You could do this twice. You could say, vote, first for the things we're doing best so we can strengthen the strengths, and then vote for the areas of improvement so we know where to focus our efforts for improvement. Then, go back to pro con and ask small groups, now cluster up in smaller groups of 3 or 4 people and generate sort of a cost benefit analysis of the winning approaches. This is a very active, engaged meeting where people need to contribute. And I love it. It's so much better than just coming into a room and sitting there and saying, what are we doing well? And, what do you think we need to improve? Okay. It's simple. This is going to help get you a lot of clarity about how to move forward. And then after those things that I just mentioned, you're getting ready to choose an idea or two, and you'll move into planning and implementation. Those are different kinds of processes. Don't forget to use your end of meeting discipline though, right? To drive clarity at the end of this meeting. It's going to be very important. All right. I want to leave you with this. Every leader I've coached who's made this shift from director leadership to facilitative leadership tells me the same thing. They wish they'd learned this earlier. These are powerful, impactful skills. Not because it necessarily makes their jobs instantly easier, because there is pre-planning. You have to think this through in advance. And a lot of people are winging it in their meetings. But once you learn these tools and skills, you will not be able to go back because it makes your impact exponentially greater. That meeting I described at the beginning, right, where everyone leaves energized and excited to execute, that is not magic, my friends. It's method. And now you've got a few simple tools to get started creating that same kind of experience for your team. The beautiful thing about facilitative leadership is that you're not doing more work. You're doing smarter work. And instead of being the person with all the answers, you become the person who helps the group find the best answers together. Because the world needs more leaders who know how to bring out the best in people, not just manage their performance. So friends, that's a wrap on today's episode. Don't forget to go sign up for my newsletter if you haven't yet, because I want you to have that process toolkit that I will be sending out in a couple of weeks. If this was valuable, please, please, please share it with another leader who's ready to stop being the smartest person in the room and start empowering their group and making everyone else smarter. Until next time, go lead the way.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode. To learn more about my services and for lots of free resources and additional tools to enrich your journey, visit my website and subscribe to my newsletter at clairelaughlin.com. If you have a question about leadership, teams, or organizational culture you'd like me to address on the podcast, please reach out to me at support@clairelaughlin.com and connect with me on social channels @ClaireLaughlin Consulting. Until next time, lead the way.